Hi.
Hi, dear Dad. Welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast.
Look, I wasn't late that time.
I'm Jen, Dear Mom, joined as always by the already self-introduced Dear Dad.
Yes, hi.
It's a no rules podcast.
I'm not
Dear Dad.
prepared for this.
No rules.
I have not prepared for this.
Well, that's what no rules is about.
It is a jarring event for me.
Indeed. We don't have to do any German words. We don't have to have a cocktail of the week. We are drinking margaritas, though.
Yeah, they're good.
I was like, we should do no rules podcast, and Dear Dad's like, we should make margaritas first, which means you should make me a margarita first, Jen.
If I had to do it, I'd have to do internet research. I'd have to figure out what measurements mean what. It'd be very hit or miss. I would say hit or miss. It could be a hit, but it is likely to be a miss.
I tried to get key limes from the store. Key lime season is over. And so I tried to get key limes from the store, and because they sometimes have them, they grow them in South America. So they're not like real key limes from the Keys, but whatever. It's the same kind of lime. Yeah. And they're really little, so they come in a bag.
They're like cherry tomato size.
Yeah. But they're very juicy. Like normally if we're making margaritas, like 2 margaritas, we'll use 2 or 3 regular limes. And we'll use like 6 or 7 key limes. So even though they're really small, they have a ton of juice in them. So we got these bags of what look like key limes, except they're labeled as Persian limes, which is the normal kind of lime. But they're small, like a key lime. And we're like, are they mislabeled key limes? Are they just small Persian limes?
Yeah.
Man, I had to use like 20 of those little fuckers to make this margarita.
So they're tiny Persian limes.
They're tiny Persian limes. They're not juicy like a key lime.
It'd be like getting a bag of lemons, but the lemons are cherry tomato size.
Yeah.
And they'd be labeled lemons. And you'd look at them and you go, that is not like any lemon I've ever seen.
No, these are just like immature Persian limes, apparently.
Oh.
Still made a good margarita, but it was a lot of slicing of limes and one minor slicing of my finger.
It's almost like those are like, trick limes or like practical joke limes because they're so small.
It's like if someone is like, ooh, I'm going to buy key limes, and they don't read, like apparently the Instacart shopper who got these for us.
And that is the link here.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. We got margaritas. And I'm always happy to make a cocktail. You don't need to be embarrassed to be like, Jen, can you make me a cocktail? I'll be like, heck yes, dear Dad. I'm happy to.
Yeah, that's what happened here, actually, too.
All right. So the reason we're doing the No Rules podcast is Little Cheese had his surgery, as we talked about.
They took out a lot of him.
Yes, his spleen and the giant tumor.
You also had him fixed.
And I had him fixed. I think we talked about that last time.
Sneaky fixing.
So yes, they took out his spleen, a giant tumor, and his testicles. Your dad was in the middle of a drink. I knew that would be.
I almost sprayed.
He's doing much better today. He's really perky. He's still got a big row of staples. In fact, they use staples on his fixing too. Normally they don't do that, but she's like, since he's already got a bunch of staples, I just stapled that close too. So anyway, he definitely seems perkier. He's eating well. He's doing great. So we get a call at like 7:30, half an hour ago. So the vet closes at 7 now. They're not open 24 hours.
This is the vet that we really like.
This is, our favorite person at the vet's office, the one who did his surgery. And I'm like, why is she calling me like after hours on a Saturday night?
You really worry when the vet calls you in the middle of the night on Saturday, holiday weekend, yeah.
And I'm like, hi, what's going on? Why are you calling me? And she's like, well, I'm in awe. And I was like, well,
what?
that could mean a whole bunch of things. So she sent off biopsies of the giant tumor that they took out, big chunks of that tumor from different spots, and also biopsies of the growths that he had on his liver, with the idea being that we could figure out what kind of cancer it was, and that would let us know, like, how long do we have left? Are there, certain herbs or medicines or stuff that we can give him? Because if it's a hemangiosarcoma, which is kind of what we thought, we'll give him some stuff to kind of stop internal bleeding, but there's not a lot to do.
Yeah.
If it's a different kind of cancer, it's not curable, right? But he may have a different prognosis.
Right.
So she sends off big samples of everything, liver tumors, the tumor that she removed, and she got the report back today, and she's like, I wasn't going to call you guys because it just made me sick to my stomach to think about having to call you and tell you about cancer. She's like, but I put on my big girl pants and I read the report, and none of it's cancer.
So the thing they took out wasn't even cancer.
The thing they took out, and she said when she did the surgery, I mean, the reason she was really enthusiastic about the surgery is she's like, if it gets this big, a lot of times it's not cancer. I mean, like 75% of the time it's not cancer. It's a benign giant growth, which will still kill you.
Because it crowds everything out. Yeah.
And they bleed, right? I mean, his had been bleeding.
Right.
But I think we said this on the last podcast. If it's cancer, a lot of times it'll spread and start fucking up other stuff by the time it gets that big. And in our dogs who have had hemangiosarcomas had that, where we've seen it.
Like on the heart stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Queso had she had the big one, but she also had ones everywhere else. And Swizz had tumors all over the place in her abdomen and was bleeding. So she's like, all right, well, it's really big and he doesn't seem to be having any other problems. So, there's a good chance it's not cancer. And after the surgery, she's like, if I hadn't seen those tumors on his liver, I absolutely would have said this wasn't cancer. It doesn't look like a cancerous tumor, but obviously if it spread to his liver, like that's cancer, right? Non-cancer tumors don't spread to other places.
Right.
And he's got tumors on his liver, so this is some kind of cancer. Nope. They're benign, totally unrelated old dog lumps on his liver, not cancer. And then the big tumor, also not cancer. He doesn't have any cancer. So she's like, so now you got another dog for a long time.
He's just lumpy. It's okay. He's just like got some lumps.
And I said, I'm like, look, he's 12 and a half, right? Who knows? 12 and a half, all kinds of things go wrong.
He's going to outlive me.
So I don't know that he has 70 months left. But
more possible now than 2 hours ago.
I mean, he came to us with 2 weeks to 2 months as his prognosis.
Yeah. He was going to bleed out in his sleep anytime. Yeah.
If it was a hemangiosarcoma, I mean, it's 3 to 6 months tops. And now there's nothing.
No.
So,
he won't walk normally now, too, because he was real bow-legged before because of that big bulbous thing in his belly.
No, it's amazing how much skinnier he looks. I mean, he lost 5 pounds with that giant tumor coming out.
We weighed him.
Yeah. But yeah, so, this is not to say he's going to make it to 17 or whatever. Who knows what else is going on with him. But he kind of has a sort of clean bill of health at this point. Like, we'll have to do, he was a little bit anemic. He had a couple weird blood values before the surgery, but that could be because he had this giant tumor. So, once he's fully healed up, we may, we'll probably monitor that and see. But overall, he's like doing great and no
Too
cancer.
bad we taught him how to smoke in his last 3 weeks. We thought he only had 3 weeks to live. Now we got to wean him off that. All the bad habits that we were encouraging.
Yeah. Well, he's doing good.
It was really just dietary. I was just giving him more snacks.
Yeah.
That'll continue, to be honest.
So no cancer on the little cheese. That is some really good news.
Good job, little cheese.
Let's see. We don't really have to talk about anything else that we could talk about.
The elephant in the room. Oh!
The other entity joining us at the table. So we're your margaritas to your other side there, Dad. You just shook an empty beer can.
Everything's
is there anything
fine.
left in there?
I told you I had no time to prepare. No time.
So sitting at the dining room table is me, GR Dad, and Bad Angle Vink. A 3-foot tall
Fat bank.
stuffed Bad Angle Vink pillow that I got your dad for his birthday.
Almost life size, actually, or a little taller.
We put it next to Vink, and the head of this one is bigger than the head of the actual Vink.
But it's not ridiculously more.
No, it's about the same. It's about the right size.
It emphasizes the chunk.
It's so funny. Jared Dad's birthday is next week, so I was going to wrap this present, and it's too big for the wrapping paper, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to give this to you now.
You're going to get 2 rolls of wrapping paper just to wrap this thing up.
I think it was like an Instagram ad or something that was like, put your dog's picture on a pillow, and
I've seen that on Instagram.
I had seen it
Funny, they target me, too.
a bunch of times, and I was like, I don't need to do that, and I was like, I could do Bad Angle Vink on a pillow. That would be hilarious.
What do you call him? Haystack? You call her Haystack Vink?
I call her Bad Angle Vink.
Haystack.
She does look kind of like a haystack, but Bad Angle Vink is my name for this Vink.
Oh, she looks so uncomfortable too.
She does.
She looks pained.
So now we'll post some pictures of that on Sunday.
I mean, it can be funny because she's lost. What did we say? 15 pounds since then.
She weighed. I mean, 78, and she
Yeah.
weighs 58 now. She's lost 30 pounds total. She had lost some. This was at the live show, and it is a bad angle. Like, she wasn't as this picture makes her look ridiculously obese, and she was not
poor
that
Vink. No,
heavy
people were taking
then.
pictures of us two, a picture of us two, and Vink happened to be sitting there, sort of being photographed down, right? So
Yeah.
the angle was bad. It's
she's
like a
kinda hunched
front-facing
over.
camera kind of thing.
She's also very fluffy, and so all of her fur, like, it hangs down from her chest, so it makes it look like she's got this giant belly that she doesn't actually
She's
have.
haystack shaped. Is not ridiculous.
It is a really bad angle, but she also,
Looks pained.
she was chubby.
Oh, it's funny because she's not. She's super skinny now.
Yes. And this was at the end of, this was like one of the last pictures at the live show. So she had been
Oh yeah, she was
working,
emotionally taxed.
yeah, like for 5 hours. You know, we did the
Yeah.
show, and then we did all the meet and greets, and there were a ton of people and all over the place. And so
she's really empathetic. She like really gave a lot.
she was like, "Oh my God, you guys, I'm so tired. What's going on? I'm happy, but I'm so tired." So you guys will get to see it tomorrow.
Bonk.
There's other stuff to talk about, but we do have to do a rules podcast in a few days, and none of it's really urgent.
You're gonna save all the good stuff. Usually you're like, here
This
are
is
all
the
our
good
secrets.
stuff.
Here
This is
are
the
our
good-
secrets.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll save the other dog updates, which are more kind of routine dog updates for the regular pod.
We can talk about what you did over New Year's.
Well, I did the thing that we said on the last podcast, which is that I ran this ultra.
Yeah. What did you do New Year's Eve? You were running. What did you do the hour out? You were still running. You were
It's
running.
funny. I ran about 20 miles, and then I started walking because I was tired, and I was like, I don't care at all how far I go in this race. Like, this is just a thing to do. And at the end, I was like, okay, you know, it's like, so it's a 12-hour race.
You just have to fill 12 hours, right?
And you can stop whenever you want. And
Yeah.
in fact, I think only out of the 12-hour runners, there were 7 of us. I think only one person did the full 12 hours.
Or so you thought. You could stop whenever you want.
Yeah. So it's like 3 a.m. and I was like, okay, you know, I had been walking, and I'll talk about a little bit more of why I continued walking, but I had done, you know, a bunch of laps, and the guy who times the race, who times all the Florida Ultras, he's at every race. Like, he knows who I am and where I live, and
He is the timing system for for Florida races.
all Florida races. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the guy.
He's
the man.
great. In fact, they have timers that go around your ankles, and at the 100-miler I did in September, I was so like out of it at the end that I just went home with my timer on, and I was like, how do I get this back to Mike? And so I brought it with, and I was like, Mike, I got your timer. Sorry, I walked away from it. And he's like, okay, cool. Here's another one for this race. But anyway, I was like,
See you next time.
it's like 3 a.m. and I was like, all right, Mike, I've had enough fun. I'm done. And he's like, it'll be 50K if you do 2 more laps. And I was like, yeah, but I'm really tired. And he's like, yeah, we'll go do 2 more. And man, so I did 48 laps. The person ahead of me did 49. And I'm
Oh.
guessing that person was going to stop, and he went, you'll beat the next person if you do one more. If I had known that, I would have done another 2. I would have done 50 and beat that guy. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he
not
should
like
have
I
given you that information.
couldn't have kept going. I was just kind of tired and bored. But yeah, so at midnight, they had like a little outdoor inflatable like movie screen and a projector.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
they hooked the computer up to do like a live stream of the ball drop in Times Square. I don't know that it dropped. We were all just like talking about stuff, and then it was like, oh, it's midnight. Yay.
Happy New Year.
So they had brought, they're like, we'll do a champagne toast. So they had cider, but they also had champagne, and I was like, this is going to be terrible champagne. It's like Martini and Rossi or something. But it was a really sweet, like grocery store champagne, which was quite tasty.
Ah,
I mean, I wouldn't drink it at home, right?
Sure.
But I was expecting like one of those yeasty, nasty, cheap-ass grocery store champagnes. This tasted like cider,
Oh.
like sparkling cider. And I was like, yeah, I'll drink some of that. And so they had like the red Solo cups there, and I probably had half of one of those full of this cheap champagne.
yeah, like a champagne dose. Yeah.
Man, did I not feel great to continue running after that kicked in. I like took it and I walked a lap drinking the
It's
champagne,
gotta
and
make
then I
you
was
tired. Yeah.
like a little bit nauseous, and like I hadn't eaten that much, right? Like I started running at 6.
It's the middle of the night.
I grabbed a like Burger King burger on the way up at like 2, and I had whatever piece of pizza and like a few snacks, but like not a lot of food between 2 and midnight. And so then I drink this champagne on like close to an empty stomach.
Yeah.
I didn't have, and I was like, it's like 1 o'clock. I think I called you and I was like, yeah, I don't really feel up to
Yeah.
no.
Goo is not a good base for
Oh, no, I
drinking.
didn't have any goo. It's interesting. Like since I've started going much, much further, I'm just drinking water, like no Gatorade, and I tend to just kind of eat.
Yeah, the
like
goo
I
is
had
a
some chips or
short-term solution. I mean,
whatever.
that's
It works good when you need it, for sure.
Yeah, but then you kind of crash too. I mean, you got to keep gooing it up.
Anyway, so yeah, I did a 50K. The longest it's ever, like 9 hours and 45 minutes. Normally it takes me like 7.5 or 8 hours to do a 50K. But I walked a lot of it because I just wanted a
Fill 12 hours.
thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, an interesting way to pass the new year. So
It's good.
It was interesting. It was exactly that, an interesting way to pass the new
And
year.
then the ballsy thing is you just got in your car and drove back right after that. Like, after not sleeping at all that night.
That's right. At 3:30, I got in the car and changed clothes.
All-nighter. Woo.
It was not fun.
That's not why people do all-nighters.
No, it was not fun. And by the time I got to the Keys at like 5 a.m., I was like having a hard time focusing. So I pulled into like a grocery store parking lot and slept for 20 minutes in my car because I'm like, this is not safe for me to drive
Yeah,
like
the
this.
keys get real long when it's super tired. I remember coming home with that RV too. It's the same thing where it's just like, now I'm in like long deer leg key and it's shark bone key and
It's all
pedal
dark.
key and it's just like, this is key number 75 and I'm still 20 miles from home. you
Yeah.
know?
No, I mean, I made the promise to myself and actually in a form that I signed that like, if I at all felt tired on that drive home, that I was just going to stop and go to sleep. Like
Yeah,
no
that was a
dangerous
cool
driving.
form. Yeah.
The form's like, I promise that if I am tired driving home, that I will stop and sleep and I will not drive drowsy. And
This is a smart thing to put in everyone's mind.
yeah, and I did. So anyway, I was home by like 8:30 and I was like, hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Taking a shower, going to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll do it. We'll do a Runs with Dogs podcast and talk more about it. But
Cool.
anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. And
Happy New Year. So far, so good.
super Happy New Year from Parmesan's Benign Tumors. That dog does not have cancer.
I'm still a little disappointed they wouldn't let us have that tumor.
Oh my God, that thing was gross. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did you look at the pictures?
Yeah, but you could put it in a jar.
And then what?
Suspend it in. Put a label on it. Put it on a shelf. I don't know. What do you do with gross medical anatomy oddities?
I mean, I'm even into gross medical anatomy oddities, but that was too big.
That's the odd thing about it. It's interesting because large. God. That's half these museums is like, hey, look, it's like a foot, but bigger. Seriously. Anyway, yeah,
Okay.
well, never mind. It doesn't work. Something about medical ethics.
Happy No Rules podcast, everybody.
Yep, Happy New Year and no rules.
We'll talk to you next week.
Still don't bite anyone, though.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bye.